Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a story about fathers loved, so let's start the story. Thomas Miller lived in the quiet town of Ashford, where his life revolved around his two children, Luke, 17, and Emily, 14. Since the death of his wife, he had become both father and mother to them. Though he was a man of few words, his love was immeasurable. The family lived simply, in a small house filled with old memories. But one thing Thomas had always kept hidden from his children, his past. It was a crisp autumn evening when everything changed. Thomas returned home after work to an unusually quiet house. Luke's car was in the driveway, but there was no sound of the television or the hum of activity from his kids. His heart skipped a beat. A folded piece of paper on the kitchen table caught his eye. It read, "Dad, we've gone to the old cabin. We need to talk. Please trust us." The old family cabin, nestled deep in the woods, was a place Thomas hadn't visited in years. It was where his father had taken him as a boy, and where Thomas had hoped to keep the past buried forever. Something about the note, though, made his chest tighten. His children were both smart and curious, and whatever they had discovered, it wasn't good. He grabbed his coat, a flashlight, and headed out into the cold, the wind biting at his face as the sun began to set. His thoughts raced. What had they found? The cabin had been locked away in his memories, his past a secret he hoped to protect them from. When he reached the cabin, the dim glow of a lantern flickered through the windows. He hesitated, his breath fogging up in the cold air. His gut told him something was wrong. He pushed open the door, the wood creaking as it swung in. Inside, he saw Luke and Emily by the fire. Luke, sitting on the floor, looked up with a solemn expression, while Emily stood by the window, her back to him. They seemed older than their years in the dim light. "Dad," Luke said quietly, "we found something. Something about you." Thomas's heart sank, the blood draining from his face. He had feared this moment for years. Slowly, he stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. "What did you find?" Thomas asked, his voice low and strained. Emily turned around, her face pale. "We found a letter. In the attic. It was addressed to you. It was from someone named Victor." Thomas's chest tightened. The letter. He had hidden it so well, all these years, hoping they would never stumble upon it. It had been written long before they were born, from a time when he had been involved in something far more dangerous than they could ever understand. It said you weren't who you thought you were. That you had powers. And that you made a choice to leave all that behind, Emily whispered, her voice trembling. Luke leaned forward, his eyes fixed on his father. "Is it true, Dad? What is this about?" Thomas closed his eyes, his throat tightening. He hadn't wanted this. He had promised his late wife that their children would never be part of his dark past, that they would grow up safe from it. But now they knew. It was time to tell them the truth. "Victor was part of something dangerous," Thomas began, his voice barely above a whisper. "When I was your age, I made a mistake. I got involved with a secret organization. They had powers, abilities that could do great harm. I was one of them. But when I met your mother, I realized I had to leave that life behind. I cut ties. I swore I'd never let any of it touch you." Luke and Emily exchanged a look, their faces filled with a mix of fear and confusion. "But what does that mean for us?" Luke asked. Are we in danger?" Thomas swallowed hard. He wanted to say no. He wanted to lie and tell them everything would be fine. But deep down, he knew the truth was darker. "I thought we were safe," Thomas said, his voice strained. "But Victor's still out there. He's watching. And the truth is, you're not completely safe from it. The past has a way of catching up." The silence that followed was deafening. The wind howled outside the cabin, rattling the old windows. The flicker of the fire cast shadows on the walls, making the cabin feel smaller, colder. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. "Dad," Emily whispered. "What do we do now?" Thomas took a deep breath, trying to steady his shaking hands. He knew that this moment, this conversation, would change everything. But he also knew they were stronger than he had been at their age. "We protect each other," he said firmly, looking each of them in the eyes. "I'll protect you no matter what. But now that you know, you have to be ready. This isn't over." For the first time in years, Thomas felt the burden of his past lift slightly. The secrets were no longer his alone to carry. They were a family, and they would face whatever came next, together. Outside, the wind picked up, the trees groaning in the storm, and deep in the shadows, someone watched. The past, long buried, had come to claim them. I hope you like this story. If you like this story, please click like button and subscribe my channel for more interesting stories. Okay guys, see you tomorrow with new interesting video. Okay, bye bye.